I'm Russ Milheim from The Direct. Thank you for joining me today to talk about the sticky.
My pleasure, man. Thanks for having me, Russ. I love talking about the sticky because I loved making the sticky because the sticky is the most ridiculous and stupid and wonderful and broken and dark and bent, unique little half hour comedy heist drama fucked up series. And I think people need it.
My most important question for you right off the bat. How do you truly feel about maple syrup? Are you a fan? What's your favorite
Well, I'll
kind?
tell you, dude. And I've given this recipe out more than I really wanted to. But have you ever had vanilla maple ice cream? Homemade vanilla maple ice cream?
I have
So
not.
this,
I
this is
have
what you're gonna
not.
do. Once we get off this, you're gonna go to Amazon. You're gonna get yourself an ice cream maker, KitchenAid, like whatever, like 35 bucks, whatever it is. You'll freeze the thing, put it in the freezer, and then it's 6 egg yolks, uh, a quart of cream, a cap full of vanilla extract, a quarter cup of high quality organic Canadian maple syrup, and a healthy pinch of salt. And then every time you eat that, you're going to think of me. And that's going to make you uncomfortable because you're going to feel good eating it. And then you're going to think of me and you're going to be like, this is weird. But dude, yeah.
Well, now I don't know how I'm going to focus on the
I'm
interview now
sorry.
that I know that that's the next
Yep.
step.
That's the next step, pal. Sorry to break it to you.
While the sticky isn't a true story per se, it is inspired by an actual heist. How familiar were you with that
And it's
incident,
so
or was it
it,
complete
it's so
news?
funny that we say it that way, right? I mean, it's like back in the 80s, every movie based on a true story, and everyone's like, oh wow, yeah, that really happened. No, it didn't. It's fucking Hollywood's version of the story. That's what this is. This is based on a true story. It's just we've got a lot more lawyers in 2024 than they used to have back then. So uh, the story's ridiculous. The show is ridiculous. Some people looked at a warehouse that wasn't being guarded that housed the global supply of maple syrup in oil drums valued at thousands of dollars per drum, stacked upon each other in the thousands, and thought, I'm going to steal that and sell it on the black market. That's fucking awesome that someone was audacious enough to try and do that and did it. Um,
And it worked.
yeah, man.
A similar question. Are you familiar at all with the maple syrup industry that I was very much not familiar with? So watching this show, I'm like getting introduced to all these new concepts and
Totally. I did not know. No, I mean, I knew by virtue of my knowledge of the heist, I knew, a little bit, but, I learned a heck of a lot making the show and subsequently have a great deal of respect for these maple farmers.
yeah. Now I'm gonna give it to you straight. Mike is not a good dude.
Come on now.
So when when it came to your performance, how did you work to try to make him at least a little likable so that viewers could get on board with him?
I don't try to make anyone likable. My goal is to be the character, warts and all. And when you're given an opportunity to play someone like Mike, it's a great freedom to really not give a fuck if somebody likes you or not. Now, Mike cares desperately if people like him. Mike wants people to be paying attention. He wants to be important. But for me, it was great to be able to let the character shine through and find the little embers of humanity that still are puffing up a little bit of smoke. And they come out mostly by virtue of Ruth Landry, Margo Martindale's character, because what she's doing really is in service of her farm and of her husband. There is an altruistic and benevolent essence to her larceny, whereas Mike's really comes from a point of revenge, redemption, and greed. Um, but yeah, I think it's super fun to play a guy that on the surface is one thing, and as you scratch that surface just a little bit, uh, it it just crumbles. You know what I mean?
How do you, this might be a loaded question,
Yes.
but how do you personally relate to Mike?
Um,
The biggest connection there.
we inhabit the same body. I'd
Okay,
say,
that's true.
yeah, we do. Look, man, I became an actor not to play characters that were like me, but to be able to disappear from me and play characters that I would never, under any other circumstance, get to hang out with or be. You know what I mean? I get to be a low-level Boston mobster who's collecting milk money for a family that's kicked him to the curb. That's pretty fun. There aren't any tie-overs. To the point where I'm Canadian and I'm actually playing an American on this thing, which is super funny. Uh,
So close,
yeah,
so
Mike's got a
close.
short fuse. I had a short fuse. I've, four children, a tortoise, a golden retriever, two cats, and a wife.
It's the tortoise, right? It's the tortoise that really gets
Tortoise
you.
really pulls you back. Any living creature that can live past 130 years, you really want to think. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, every time your character complained about the cold, I felt it in my soul as someone that hates even a breeze. And I felt like watching it, I was like, that almost seems like you commenting as a real
Wasn't
person and
scripted.
not as a character.
Wasn't scripted. And what I thought was, because I remember growing up, I had American friends that would come and visit, and they were always like, "Is it always this fucking cold?" And I've been living in LA and going up to Montreal in the winter, I was like, "Holy shit, it's fucking cold!" And so, I mean, that really was all written in. Even all of the red puffy jacket to keep him warm. Really, really great. Really great.
I felt the authenticity there,
Yeah,
so
for sure. For
congratulations.
sure, man. Thank you.
Now, you, Margot, and Guillaume looked like you were having, a blast on set despite hating each other on screen consistently. How did your dynamics evolve over the course of the
Oh,
show?
we had so much fun, man. We really look, three very, very different actors, different performance styles, different backgrounds, and it was just like this perfect. It was like, vanilla chocolate and caramel. Just a really lovely little blending. And oh, we adore each other. I've worked with Margot Martindale. This is my third project I've worked with her on, and I just think the absolute world of her. Guillaume was a surprise. But I remember when I read with him for his audition, I was texting the writers as we were doing it. This is the guy. There's no from the first 4 seconds on screen. He has such an earnestness, such an open face. He's such a beautiful guy. And listen, they're both pros, and so I respect actors that come to set prepared, knowing their lines, knowing what the scene is, knowing what we're doing, so that then all that can be thrown away and we can find great little wonderful moments.
You also got to spend some time with the legendary Jamie Lee
Oh man.
Curtis. I can only imagine that was also a blast. What were some of your favorite moments there?
I mean, A Fish Called Wanda is one of my all-time favorite movies. I can quote it from beginning to end. So I was starstruck, man. I was truly starstruck. She is a powerhouse physically and from a performance standpoint. She came ready to play, and she just elevated all of us. Her energy is infectious. Her commitment to the character and to what's happening in the scene. And listen, man, she had me exhausted. Her physical prowess. Someone might say, "Oh, for her age, fuck that." For a fucking 30-year-old's age, she's got it, man. It was such a dream to be able to meet her and then realize that everything I hoped that she would be, she's that and that much more.
For you, what would you say would be the most unique moment you experienced while working on, this series compared to everything else you've done in the past?
Look, this was a real, the character got to undergo a massive de-evolution over the course of 6 short episodes, starting at sort of what he thought was his like version of, slick James Bond, and really ending with this broken, desperate, uh, really on his last legs guy. So that was fun for me as an actor to be able to, in a short span of time, deconstruct a character in a way that allowed for an audience to follow along and sort of cringe with me. That was great fun to use all of those different levels of personality and Mike and my skill set.
Yeah, I wanna ask about two unrelated topics here, real quick. You're obviously in Invincible,
Oh yeah, yeah, man.
like Donald.
Yeah, not only Donald, but
He
I
said,
do I do Doc Seismic. I do a bunch of bad guys on that as well. Incidentally, my Doc Seismic is my homage to Cobra Commander and Starscream from back in the 80s.
well, there you
Yeah,
go, and it does it
yeah,
well.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
well, I wanted to hone in on Donald just because he's specifically having, a hard
Oh
time.
yeah.
Can you tease how his story is going to evolve in the upcoming season
Do
3?
I think? Is that what you're saying?
No, no, no. Can you tease how it's
Oh
going
no,
to
I can't.
evolve?
Are you kidding? They'll kill me.
Vaguely,
No, I can't.
vaguely.
I will say this. It's an interesting confluence of Donald's straight and narrow path, crossbred with what you might call his humanity.
That's good. That's good enough. And it was confirmed that season 4 is in the works. Have you done any voice recording for season 4 yet?
Maybe, maybe
Maybe.
it's possible.
It might have happened at some point.
I love working with those guys, man. They're terrific. They're super fun to work with. I love the show. It's so visceral. It's so violent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, it's a fun show. It's a
it's
fun show.
good.
And then I was a big fan of Mrs. Davis.
Oh, good. Me too. What a great show that like nobody
Right.
watched.
And I was gonna ask, is it a hopeless dream for fans to keep pining away for season two?
Man, listen, I'll tell you this. Jake, Betty, and I, we would do it in a heartbeat. Uh, and working with those two was a dream. I mean, look, I love I loved working with Damon Lindelof. I loved being able to play sort of the guy who lived in the ranch between Russell Crowe's ranch and the Hemsworth's ranch. You know, he was just in the middle, and all of them went and became successful, and he was just JQ. It was super fun. That was I had a ball.
What what would the next step be in his journey, do you think? What would a season two explore for
It
him?
would be interesting. I mean, I don't. That's a great question. I mean, we find him uh, basically broken back at the beginning, right? Trying to earn his living as a poker player in an industry where everyone's been given all the tips and tricks by this AI. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I see it as sort of like remember when in Rocky Four when he has to go back to his roots, back to basics. I think JQ the hair grows out, the beard grows out, and he goes back to like you know it's go time. JQR in the forest trying to find his way back, exacting his vengeance.
Yeah. No, I mean I would love a season
That'd be
two.
awesome. Me
So
too, man.
I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed.
Uh, have you ever interviewed Betty Gilpin?
I have not. I have
You're
not.
missing out. You got to get on
Or
that,
Damon.
Russ.
Damon makes some of my favorite shows ever. It's like Lost,
He's
Leftovers.
amazing, dude. And he's a lovely guy to chat with, and he loves actors. He loves storytelling. He's humble. That was a great experience. I loved working with him.
Now we've been talking about multiple seasons, so I would be remiss not to bring it back to the Sticky. Do you think this is a one season story, or do you feel like more could happen?
Oh, this is the tee off, man. It's almost like this season is like it's the preamble. I mean, really, it begs the question of holy shit. It's like now what? And the now what is huge. I don't want to give any spoilers away, but yes, this was always conceived as a multiple season show, and I'm very confident that we're going to get a chance to do that.
Now I want to give you a chance for for a sales pitch here. There's a lot of competition out there in the streaming space. What would you say is the most unique element of the Sticky compared to all the other options out there that you think will be enough to someone's going to look at all these options and go, nope, that's what I'm watching. I'm watching the
There's
Sticky.
no competition. There really isn't. Look, there's some great shows. No, there isn't. There's some great shows out there. But how many can say that they're a half hour format, 6 episodes that involve insane comedy, but heartfelt drama and emotionality, a heist with arguably two of the greatest female actresses in history, Margo Martindale, Jamie Lee Curtis, a show that shows the criminal underbelly of Northern Canada. When the fuck have you ever heard that before? Dealing with
Just
maple
now.
syrup. So yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think our show has elements of a show like The Bear, which is to say that it's a half hour non-comedy comedy that also happens to be funny. And
Yeah.
and it's sort of this it's like if the Cohen brothers decided to make a half hour show, they'd make something like this.
Well, what are you most proud of with how it all shaped up?
Um,
If you could point at one thing, I know a lot of people like to be like, oh, everything, but if
no,
you had to point,
no, I think the writers had a specific vision for how the world would pan out. Everything from the music being these popular songs done in a French format. There's a sort of almost like a syrup like wash over the show that's almost syrupy sepia look to it. I just feel like what was set out to be accomplished was to create a world that we haven't seen before, to create elements of like a mob character that when you scratch the surface and realize the level of insecurity, it's not something we've necessarily seen before. We haven't seen Quebecois characters portrayed like that in a meaningful way. I think that I'm proud of the fact that the show hits in the center of the target of what it set out to accomplish.
Random intrusive thought here. I think you could be really good in like the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
You're right.
We have any aspirations there?
I would be very good in the cinematic Marvel universe. Yeah, I do definitely. You kidding? Come on, man. I was born going to Silver Snail Comic Shop. That's like one of the first places I ever went when I was a little kid, a little baby. I've been a comic fan, a Marvel fan for my entire life. Passed that on to my son. He's a crazy comic collector, particularly 80s and 90s stuff. Um, I've said it before, man, but I think here's what I think. I think
I'm ready.
I think that they should make a series called Goblin, and it should be about Norman Osborn before all like leading up to becoming the Green Goblin, and I should be Norman Osborn. That's what I think.
I mean, that's a bold move. I'm
Yeah.
for it. I'm all
Well, I'm
for
glad
it.
you're for it. If you're for it, then it's going to happen.
Exactly. I have that power, and it's kind of crazy, right?
Let's do it.
Sometimes I don't realize my own
No, it's all
power,
right. You've
so.
got it, and you're easily a consulting producer on it. So let's get it going.
Well, thank you again for talking to me today about the sticky.
Pleasure.
I look forward to the world getting to see it,
Thanks, man. Thanks.
and
Yeah.
I look forward to more seasons.
Thanks for your enthusiasm and thanks for being so prepared. This was really delightful chatting with you.